Got it. Recording in progress. Got it. Matt, one of my favorite shirts in my arsenal, the original 6, as a Detroit Red Wing fan.
What?
Very familiar. I know you are.
But why is there 7?
There's not. There's 6, and there's the NHL logo in the middle. Blackhawks, Toronto Maple Leafs.
Gotcha.
Detroit Red Wings, Boston Bruins.
I counted them and I got 7, so I didn't realize one was just the.
Of course, and you said
league.
something before you knew it.
Yeah.
Rangers. Matt, funny story. When we were in Encinitas relaxing several weeks ago, we're playing this game. I forget what the name of it was, but basically they gave you a category, and then you had 5 seconds to come up with names in the category, right? So it'd be like cereal, Raisin Bran, Frosted Flakes, 5 seconds. It's amazing how fast 5 seconds is when you're trying to rack your brain.
True.
Especially if you've been imbibing. Anyway, Lynn had NHL teams, and she went Blackhawks, Maple Leafs, and Tranquilizers. Tranquilizers?
Tranquilizers.
Who are the Tranquilizers? She's like Montreal. The Montreal. And I got to tell you, ever since that, I think there needs to be a sports team called the Tranquilizers, right? Dude, you got a fucking dart in your neck. You just had, Fauci in the penalty box blowing darts.
It's like Will Ferrell when he gets blown with the dart.
Exactly. You got a fucking dart in your neck. Anyway, NHL started last night with another franchise. I'm not sure what do they have now, Matt, in the NHL, but they've gone from 6 to many more than 6.
Yeah, they must be 30, 31, somewhere in there now.
32. I don't know. The Kraken, the Seattle Kraken, and they came back and beat the Golden Knights in their debut. Congratulations to the Kraken.
You remember the Knights, their first year, they made it all the way to the finals, right? And think about this. Every team basically in these expansion drafts loses 2 of their players. And so there's a chip on those 30, players that are on the team. Let's say they take 60 of them and 30 of them make the team. The rest are on their farm system or whatever. But there's a chip on these guys' shoulders because they feel like they were the last guy picked from their team. They weren't protected. They didn't have a contract. So the new team picks them up and they got a chip. There's a reason to play. And Vegas Knights know it better than anybody. And they lost last night.
I just, sporting, Matt, sports and music sometimes can bring me out of the funk of modern society until, we're going to have a little. John Gruden identifies as Hunter Byden, so media will ignore his emails. Now, I got to tell you, I read some of the emails and I'm like, he's not coming back from those. You don't put, you can think whatever you want, but you don't put it in writing. You can have a conversation one-on-one that's just, maybe politically incorrect, but you don't put it in writing.
I don't recall that conversation.
Anyway, I think what's more important, and me and you both said this when it happened, like what there has to be something else going on.
Yeah.
And then I saw this tweet from John Kelm, I guess. And this is a statement from Lisa Banks and Deborah Katz, attorneys for 40 former Washington football team employees. And so basically what you don't know is there's been this giant litigation going on about the way they conducted themselves as a franchise. And I want to read it so everybody gets it for the. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying we do know, like Dan Snyder has a history of this stuff, right? And then the NFL does not want any bad information on any of their franchises out in the news. So they snuffed it. And now this is what we get 10 years later. Something that John Gruden may have, or he typed, and he wasn't.
It wasn't may have. He typed it.
All right, so he typed it, but whatever. I'm just saying.
Right, exactly. If it doesn't seem like a diversion, you're not paying attention.
Correct.
I want to read it. It is truly outrageous that after the NFL's 10-month-long investigation involving hundreds of witnesses and 650,000 documents related to the longtime culture of harassment and abuse at the Washington football team, the only person to be held accountable and lose their job is the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, who didn't even work for them.
Right.
If the NFL felt it appropriate to release these offensive emails from John Gruden, which it obtained during its investigation into the Washington football team, it must also release the findings related to the actual targets of the investigation. Our clients and the public at large deserve transparency and accountability. If not, the NFL, Roger Goodall, must explain why they appear intent on protecting the Washington football team and owner Dan Snyder at all costs. Listen, Paul Harvey used to say, and now the rest of the story, and I think this story is just beginning to percolate.
And I just did a quick search, Dan Snyder 2011, and of course now we get all the headlines. John Gruden's vulgar emails also appear in court filings from WFT owner Daniel Snyder. So again, to your point, you want to bury your own story, and this is what you do. You take down, a guy that.
And how about too, the coverage in the Black community? Like, you don't need to say anything. Jason Whitlock, I forgot what the gal was last night, ripping apart Randy Moss. They'll take care of their own. And not John Gruden said some ridiculously stupid stuff, right? But as locker room talk, you keep it in the, I don't know. It's a different world.
Well,
but it's so obvious that there's a bigger story here that is being suppressed, and it's hey, squirrel, look over there. Look at the squirrel. John Gruden is now the squirrel.
Yep.
All right, man, let's talk markets. Inflation surges by most in 13 years as energy prices spike. Consumer index 5.4%. Matt, very little talk now about transitory anywhere in the narrative.
It's because it's not transitory.
And then you shared Michael Aston's tweet, transitory is dead. There's too much liquidity. The Fed now needs to choose whether to drain liquidity, not just taper, and live with much lower asset prices, or keep pumping asset prices for the rich, which we all ultimately lose in real purchasing power. Main Street,
which I thought, by the way, was a great tweet. It's so spot on. It's so spot on. You can't be more honest with your assessment. That was well tweeted.
And then Carol Roth, hold on a second. Let me find that tweet. And let me share if I can share. And there it is. I love sharing, Matt. I can't share yet, but I'd love to share. And then we're going to look at the 10-year, 30-year. Anyway, this was her tweet from 21 minutes ago. We've gone from families saving 16 cents on hot dogs. Remember that one?
Yeah.
16 cents on hot dogs to being in the hole.
Be glad you can have a barbecue. Be glad you can have a barbecue from Team Byden, because we're saving you 16 cents on hot dogs for the whole pack, not per, for the whole pack.
There we go. But now 175 a month.
I wonder if that 16 cents is gone now, though. I'm sure your hot dogs have doubled in price.
Assholes and lips, Matt.
Even parts is parts.
Parts is parts. Hey, listen, let's look at the 10-year or the 30-year, your chart du jour, because it seemed like the 30-year had put in a little bit of a temporary bottom. And I don't think they reacted very violently off of the news. Like that's inflationary, right? Bonds should go lower. 10 years should go lower. 5 years should go lower. 2 years should go lower. And I think it took a bit of time.
Okay, so this is the 30-year, the ZB, and it did spike today all the way up here to 115, almost just shy of 160. But as I said in yesterday's show, when we talked about, I'm not going to be bullish on these bonds until they close on a Friday over 160.19, 160.20 or so. So nothing's really changed here. We're just dragging along the bottom. It's chum on the bottom. This is, going back to late September, and here we are mid-October now. So, this has been a little over 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, let's call it, since, this low. We went lower, And now we're just trying to test this high that we had October 1st, which was that area 160.20 I was talking about. So this doesn't mean much to me. This rally is short term in nature, and you got to look at it as such until it takes out that longer term level on the higher levels, which is again up here somewhere above this level right in here. So close there tomorrow, and then we can talk bullish. But as we come into the Fed, it's not a rate announcement; it's just reiteration of their last meeting. Blah 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 at 11 today. In an hour, everybody's just this spiked into that. And now it's already selling off. So we'll see if this trend holds. It has so far. It has for the last 3 days. So we've had a 3-day bounce back, which is usually a good time to sell, especially if you haven't taken out that new high. So again, pretty, I mean, if you were paying attention yesterday and you sold up there near 160, you're already benefiting. You're already in the money. You can let it run, put your stop in at break even, let it go. But again, I don't see anything new here unless we close over 160.20 or so on the 30-year bond. And when you look at the 10-year, I don't see anything different, Bobby. I mean, it's just, again, even less of a rally. It got up here. And for me, this has got to get up, way above this level. So this has just been, again, this is the 10-year, and this has just been dragging on the bottom. Matter of fact, even on that news this morning, it tested that low there at 130.26. So you had a spike down and then whoosh up, and now it's just kind of coming back down. So really not going anywhere. This for me wouldn't be bullish until we get above 132.20 or so on this one. We're a long way from that. This doesn't move as violently as the ZB. So the bonds aren't really, to me, telling me lower interest rates are coming, which again, the Fed is painted into the quarter. We'll come back to this transitory as dead, because it is. Inflation's real. Hot dogs are more expensive. Fucking everything is more expensive. To your point, it's like you can't tell me. And then you hear this wages are higher. Well, are they really? With everything being expensive? Again, I don't believe it. I don't.
Well, even if they're higher, like how do you compete with?
And then what are you talking about higher? Like if you were working last year and you're still working, you didn't get a raise that maybe the new employee is getting. I don't know.
It's upside down, but for sure nobody's pricing in a 5% raise.
Right.
I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
I meant.
But gold did have a spike today, so let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk about gold before we talk about oil. Because you can't wait. You have some levels you're eyeing that you can't wait to sell.
Again, I mean, gold, nothing's changed. So gold reacted off this number because, again, too many people were short in the hole, I guess, there. But that thing hadn't been moving for some time anyways. But yeah, we're spiking here.
Bring it up.
I'm trying to. Just bear with me. So
hey, listen, I get impatient, and as the
we were that
1750.
That 1750 number basically traded for 10 days, right? We were just chopping, and then they, this is what they do. They break out of a range. But I go back to the big chart, the longer time frame, and I just go, well, what's really new here? What is really new? Nothing. I mean, for me, short term, you got to be over 1840. And I would love to sell 1840. Here, let me put this one up here because this was the one I was looking at earlier. And again, I think this area up in here, you're going to have to get over for me. And this is just looking at a 3-month chart. So if I'm looking at a quarterly, nothing's new. We're not going anywhere new. We're right back to, matter of fact, that 1800 is the pivot. It's the point of control for the 3 months that we've been trading. So, is it new prices? No, it's not a new high. It's not, again, we're off the bottom, but you shouldn't get all excited because of one little squeeze in oil, gold. This is what happens. It just does this over and over again, sucks them in. And then, again, unless you were long, if you got long at 1750, by all means, take your profits today at 1800.
Right on.
Because you got the bump.
High five Peter Schiff and wait for that level to sell.
I mean, but nothing, I was looking at even like the daily. Gosh, I mean, gold has been dead. We peaked here. When was this? Last August. So, no matter what you say, like gold has been a dead asset for a year. And this is what it does. Like it moves strangely. I wouldn't recommend most people trade gold. It's not for the meek. It's not for the amateurish. It's not for, anybody. But if you do, you should look at the long-term chart. The long-term chart is not bullish.
All right, Matt. Speaking of charts and chartists, which he's not, what he is a blocker of you. Jim Cramer blocking mistrade. Will not look at his charts or tweets or anything. But charts suggest like that's a person. Charts suggest the oil rally is living on borrowed time, says Jim Cramer, who is a self-admitted. I know I've heard him say that he's not a great chartist. But he is a chartist now and claiming that oil is on borrowed time. And then, thank you, Jim, because this segment is called Cramer versus Putin. And when is joining the Putin, quite possibly oil could reach $100 a barrel. And then you had somebody chiming today. Who was he, Matt? Shy Girl shared, I believe. A Saudi, the ex-Saudi guy saying that there's just no more oil out there. And that we all know that that's bullshit. Right?
There's literally, and again, Shy Girl, somebody weigh in here, but I don't think that is even close to true. I think there's 15 generations of oil based on the population we have today in the ground that we can access. So
here he is, former Saudi Aramco EVP Saad Al Husseini on the global resources. I think we're pretty much topped out everywhere. You know what? And I said, well, why did they, deny that Keystone pipeline? I thought there was lots of oil in Canada that they wanted to get down here. The Permian Basin, chock full. There's so much oil available. It's policy, Matt. It's just policy. But anyways, let's fractal out a little bit and look at coal. We looked at it yesterday. I know we did, Matt, but humor me and my Cramer versus Putin. I know you've sold oil several times on this last topping action. At what point do you think oil needs to get to where you think, wow, Putin might be right? And so far, unbelievably, you're in Jim Cramer's camp.
I'm not in his camp. I just, I don't mind selling new highs, I guess, because it doesn't go up. Like it's gone up $20 in less than 2 months. So that is a significant move. I mean, that's a 33% move. I'm not saying 100 can't come. I just don't think it can come like whenever Putin wants it or whenever anybody wants it. But I don't know. I mean, here's a weekly chart. It is possible to go, we're breaking out, we're above. This is a weekly chart. We're above the $80 level, which is the top of the profile. So we could move swiftly up to 110. It wouldn't surprise at all because we spent these 3, 4, 5 years of Obama in the same problem. I mean, again, if you want to follow the playbook, how to ruin economies, just look at what Obama did, especially in the second term, and you'll see it.
And that's, you cannot not look at that and say, in fact, I don't even remember it, but it's been 3 years, right? In that congestion zone of very high crude prices. Yeah. No reason. And again, we talk about this all the time.
Really, it was April of 10 until they had to get ready for the election. So like in the middle of 14, they started getting it down again. I mean, just it's not hard to see what's going on here.
All right, Matt. Speaking of another parabolic one, we talked about it yesterday. Carr, bring it up a little return to earth, just like William Shatner did today. Back to William Shatner, dude. The best looking 90-year-old I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, we talked about Carr yesterday, and you said, "Oh, wait." I said, "Oh no, I'm not waiting." That thing had gone totally parabolic. So I sold some calls, out of the money calls, like 160s yesterday, and we spiked up here 154 yesterday, and we're down now, $8-9. We're down 5%. So sell-offs do happen, and even in uptrends, you just got to know when to do them, know when to hold them, know when to fold them. But I'm not saying this can't go higher again. I've already taken my profits, matter of fact. So if you get a 5% move in a day and you were levered with options, you take them off. You made good money. It's done. Trade's over. So
Now, if you see that trade sideways for a bit and then retest that high, that's something.
Yeah, I'd like to see a test of it, see how it behaves with the test, that whole thing again. Again, this isn't significant. Really, you can see this is still, everything's still green. Matter of fact, if you were a buy the dipper, you would say, oh, I got to buy it here. Okay, well, I'm not going to buy still a parabolic piece of crap, rental car company that I know isn't worth anything. So I have a hard time, but I'll fade them all day.
Apparently it's worth some money rather than no money.
It's worth 10 billion today. Yeah.
All right, Lee's saying CCJ. What is CCJ? CCJ, please. CCJ.
Oh, he wants to see the symbol of a uranium stock again?
Yeah. Let's do it. Energy, baby. We're talking energy. Bring it up.
All right. So this is CCJ. Cameco, again, had a nice little rally back here.
Got to sell that double top.
Got good time to empty it. If you were buying the dips here, now's the time to sell it. And I guess Lee might be a cup and handle guy, so he's waiting for the handle to go. I don't know.
Well, we used to say on the floor, Matt, sell a portion of it and hope it's the dumbest thing you ever did in your life.
Yeah, exactly. But these moves, I got to show you. Again, we looked at this name back in August. This name went from 16 to 25 and then back here and pulling like again. And the other thing that you see is declining volume, falling volume, test of the highs. Again, whoever's late to the party, they're the only ones buying here. That's the way I see it. And you can own this company or you can own Avis Car Rental. They're both worth the same 10 billion. So place your bets.
Right on.
I would be a seller.
I love my ringer, Matt. It's old school. Reminds me of the kitchen at 2098 Old Willow Road in Northfield. Definitely Northfield. All right, Matt. Great game coming up. Major League Baseball, right? Tomorrow night. Giants and the Dodgers. Dude, I cannot imagine that many games and they still have the same number of wins. It goes to a game 5. Talk about parity. Well, I mean, it's just unbelievable. Give me your thoughts about Giants, your Dodgers.
Yeah, obviously I'm biased. I want the Dodgers to win. I think they can win. I don't know who's going to be pitching for the Dodgers. I asked you before we came on the show. I wonder if they're going to throw Scherzer after a great start the other night, but he only pitched 5 or 6 innings. He didn't throw a ton of pitches. Why not start him again, game 5, since they're not doing 7? Then you can save him for game 3 or 4 maybe in the World Series once you make it. I don't know. It's just a thought. Because then he can still pitch 2 games late in that series. I mean, you can't go on to the championship series unless you win this one. So it's like you got to throw everything at it. And without Kershaw, he's not available. He's out for the entire postseason until spring training at least. So, that hurt him. Buehler pitched fantastically. I mean, that kid is just nasty. He's just so much speed, and then the breaking balls he has. And then the staff for the Giants is unbelievable. So, by the way, the Giants, if you can believe it, hit the most home runs in the major leagues, and that's at home in Giants Stadium. I mean, that includes they have to play 81 games there, where it's not an easy place to hit home runs. It's not easy to put him out in McCovey. Right. Into
what did you say? How many?
There's only been 80 in the entire history of the Giants. I didn't know that until recently. And Bonds hit 20 or 30 of them.
And still there's people out there.
Every day, every game, they're out there, in
their kayaks waiting for that.
Well, because 80 balls in 25 years is worth a lot of money because there's not a lot hit out there, right? If you can just get one of those suckers, that's why they fight.
They're going to be thick out there in a game 5 of 100 and how many ever wins that they have.
107, 108. I think they're both sitting right there.
Unreal. What's the line? Do we got a line? Let's talk betting.
The line on it early, I don't know. I'm looking here on ESPN. I don't know if they'll give me a line.
When does ESPN pivot hard to a betting platform? Because they're missing the boat.
They're slow. I mean, they're really blowing it. I couldn't agree more. I don't know. I don't know what the line is. I mean, it was the Dodgers at home. I don't know if they'll be favored on the road. Oh, and it looks like Urias, I don't even know how to say it, but he's 1-0. He won his first game. he's 1-0. So he's pitching for the Dodgers. And then you have Webb, also 1-0. Both have pitched well in the postseason. So as far as who's favored, let me see.
I think it's Dodgers are minus 184, Giants plus 158.
Yeah,
right?
I got minus 1.5 on the run line, minus 105 for each of them right now on the Oregon app. You can bet them both minus 105. So it's a pick 'em game. Except you can take the Dodgers or the Giants plus 1.5, which is interesting. So you get the odds. You get the odds taking the Dodgers minus 1.5. You put $500 on, and you're going to win 650. It's not bad.
It's not great either. Lions money.
Lions
money
up.
Line loser.
Yeah, better than straight up.
All right, Matt. Awesome chatting with you as always.
Supposed to be 71 and by the way, 71 and perfect. This is the summer season in the Bay Area. It's usually September, October is the summer season. That's when that's when they get summer there.
Summer. All right, Matt. Please visit marketvitals.io. Please retweet, share far and wide the broadcast. If you have any questions, please reach out. Either HFR from the floor or Miss Trade on Twitter. Follow us, share us. We'd appreciate it.
Did you see that story about the power struggle between Lou Reed and Andy Warhol?
I did. And by the way, if you think today's society is abrasive, politically incorrect, intolerant, imagine the Village when they were getting kicked out of bars because they were too abusive to their own fan base. Bars would say, all right, you guys, you're out. Velvet Underground, one of my favorite live recordings, Lou Reed, and he shows up on stage, obviously very, very late for the show. And he comes up and says, sorry, we were late. We were just tuning. Like we were tuning. We were partying backstage for 2 hours. And then somebody from the crowd says, Lou, what do you think about politics? And he said, I'll tell you what I got about politics. Give me an issue and give me a tissue and I'll wipe my ass with it. Apropos for today, everything's politicized.
By the way, since we started the show, the treasuries have rallied so sharply back to the day's highs. It's pretty amazing. In the last 15 minutes, they have gone from looking like they could roll over. And again, we've got a Fed announcement or a reiteration of their last meeting. This is the notes. This is the Fed notes. It's not the meeting. So again, to me, I don't put a lot into this, but the market's kind of paused until that supposedly hits the wires at 11 o'clock Pacific. So that's in about 45 minutes. But in the meantime, the Fed is jacked up in a quick buy program. I mean, you can see it. It's just like, how can you not, the moves in these things are wild. So there you go.
All right, Matt. That's it. Have a great one.
All right,
Thank
Bobby.
you.